What y'all doing? Nothing. Scrolling. I know you probably like, you just happened to catch me because you were scrolling. Well, come on in the room because tonight we're going to have a conversation on Here is Drama is Life. Welcome to another Monday with me, Theresa White, CEO and founder of In Time Creative Counseling Services, located here in Terre Haute, Indiana, where we offer drama therapy, the expressive arts, with a blend of traditional therapy to make sure that you reach your goal. So we're going to talk about some drama tonight. We know that it's Black History Month, right? So we're going to have a conversation because I got a question. I really want to hear the answers and what you think about this. So please feel free to comment, ask questions. This is an interactive conversation anytime that we do Drama is Life. And if you may ask, what is Drama is Life? Let me tell you. Drama is life is exciting, it's emotional, because that's what drama is, right? The unexpected series of events and a set of circumstances. We're going to have a set of questions and conversations about some things that maybe bring up some exciting, emotional, unexpected conversations, but hopefully helps you reflect and think about what's happening in your life, what's maybe happened previously that's affecting now, and how we can do something about it now to affect the future. So again, Trauma is Life, where we've been talking about mental and social topics for the last 4 years, previously called Can We Talk? So hopefully you will join us as we are on various platforms. We are here. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn. We are on Twitter. We are on, we got our podcast here on Spotify. So we hope that you will join us each and every episode. But tonight, we're going to have a conversation because I got a question. Is ignorance really bliss? Have you ever heard that statement? Ignorance is bliss? Well, ignorance is bliss. And it's generally used regarding children when you do hear it. So for those who have heard it. So if you have heard it, let me know in the comments, hit like, hit share it because we're going to have a conversation tonight. And I want people to know what this is really all about. And happy Black History Month. And just happy Black History. How about that? Happy Black History Day, year, season. We can honor and celebrate the history of all of the African American pioneers and trailblazers. And I am absolutely here for that. So happy for that. But I do want to have a conversation. So question, is ignorant bliss? Ignorance bliss? That generally comes from, and I'll tell you where the information comes from, right? It's an idiom, right? So an idiom is like a phrase that people generally use. We may call it, it's kind of similar to metaphors or soliloquy, where we say that a person who doesn't know something or know about a problem doesn't worry about a problem. Is that true? Do y'all believe that? If you don't know about a problem, you don't worry about it. If I don't know about it, I don't worry about it. And maybe in some cases that may be true. But I want to bring it to the forefront of the conversation with regards to, is ignorance bliss to the child who doesn't know who their mother is? Is ignorance bliss to the child that doesn't know who their father is? To the adult who's never met their mother, who's never met their father, who doesn't know if they have siblings? Is ignorance bliss for the person who maybe has some family members that they don't know? Have you ever, and I'm going to tell a story about myself, see if ignorance is bliss here. Growing up, adolescence, had a friend, and me and this friend was dating, or not really dating. We was in middle school, so we called it whatever we was calling it. But my friend had, me and a friend had some young men that we liked. They were friends. You know how that goes. We're friends. We date you as friends. It's the whole thing. So they were friends. And so me and the friend still stayed friends. We just wasn't no longer dating, right? We was no longer together. And the other young man had said to me at times, like, okay, I really, wanted to talk to you as well, or I liked you, not as well. And I was like, the girl code, like, no, you talk to my friend. But long story short, It's this person, I never would get with this person. Now, speed up time, just, maybe a few months down the line. And again, we are young children. I go to an event where my family is, and I see this person there. And seeing this person there, I kind of dodged, you kind of like, okay, I see you, but that can't be so and so, right? And I'm still hanging out with family and such. Now, this family event is a family reunion. So I'm trying to figure out in my young mind what this person's doing at my family reunion. So I'm going to ask that question again. When I finally figured out later on, I had some aunts, some cousins, older cousins who was like, yes, this is your relative by this way, right? They break down who's family and how they're family. Now, I was a young girl at that time in like early middle school, whatever. And in my mind, I was like, what if I never would have known that this young man was a relative? And I'll say to myself, thank God that I didn't allow it to be like when we dated or anything, because I kept the girl code, right? um, but was ignorance bliss then? Was it bliss for me to not know that this person was actually a relative of mine? And that brings me to the topic again of tonight. Is it bliss when our young men and especially our young Black men, our young Black women don't know their history? Is it, and I'm saying not even just our history with the names of people and the people that have done great exploits on civil rights and taking what was and helping us get to what is now as much as possible. And we got some work to still do. And I'm not talking about them, but I'm talking about even in our own home. Is it bliss when you don't know who your family members are? Does that qualify as ignorance being bliss? Because I have seen it as a clinician and working in the healthcare field that it causes a lot of stress when people don't know who is their relatives. And I say that because you know why it's stressful? Because it brings the question back to themselves. Who am I? Because there are parts of me that I'm wondering, it doesn't really match my mother. It doesn't really match my father. Or if I don't know who my mother or father is, maybe it does. And I don't know, is this really a part of them? And I don't, again, have that connection. So if you probably have heard on previous episodes that we've had during Black History Month in years past, how important that I stress that our young people and our adults, it doesn't matter how your age, how old you are, but especially our young people, that they know the history, not only of their family, and people in my family will tell you that I am the historian. I'm the one asking, so who's Aunt so-and-so? And how do they know them and know them? And I've always been that way since I was a little girl, because it's always been important to me to know who I am, the history of like, wow, we have this vast amount of people in our family that have done so many things. And you have heard the statement, maybe you haven't, but if you have not, we're going to tell you tonight, of the 3 degrees of separation. And maybe it's 4. I think now it's 2. And that just basically says that there is the 2 people that you know, there's a separation between you knowing everybody in the world by just a 2 degree or 3 degree, 3 relationships of people separating you. Can you imagine that a distance of you knowing everybody in the world is just a 3-person distance? That probably somebody, and I found it out over and over again, especially on social media sites, where you see a family member know a friend, and you're like, how do you know my cousin? I heard that's your cousin? Yeah, that's my cousin, or that's my brother, or that's, how do you know? And then it shortens that degree of separation, right? Because people that you know most likely are intertwined in a circle and knowing some other people. And I say that because with family, when you don't know what you don't know, and you say ignorance is bliss, I don't worry about it if I don't know them. Well, actually, a lot of our young men and our young women are worried about who they don't know. And I've heard family members talk about, like, people leaving the city and leaving the state because they were like, when my family does not share information, talking about the people that I've worked with, then I don't know if I may be dating potentially a family member because my family's so huge and we don't know who people are. So when you're dating somebody, you actually had to ask the question, so who's your mama and your grandfather and your auntie and your uncle? What's their last names? And you can't be fooled by last names because families have various last names. And I bring all this to point because when we say ignorance is bliss, and I've been talking since last month about leaving a legacy. How can you leave a legacy for somebody you don't know? How can they leave one for you and you have no idea who they are? Say we see movies often where people are leaving an inheritance, great wads of money, hiding it in walls, and you make it fun and they make it a movie where it's like, oh, you got this rich, this person who was homeless, now got this rich grandmother, that's now leaving them money, right? Or this rich great uncle or cousin. And don't listen to those spams emails that you get that says you got a cousin in Africa that needs you to send them some money. Don't fall for that. Please don't fall for that. That is a scam. But back to our topic at hand. When you don't know, and even when we talk about people, I'm going to ask you just a few questions. I'm going to say, does anybody know who Claudette Colvin is? And again, this is not necessarily a family member, but this is a woman that has shaped where we are today in Black history. Do you know her name? If I asked you, do you know who Rosa Parks is? How many would say yes? And please put in the comments, yes, I know who Rosa Parks is. And if you know who Claudette Colvin is, please let me know that as well. I'm going to encourage you, if you don't know, to look her up. Because just a few months, 9 months actually, according to history, before Rosa Parks refused to give her seat to a white person on the bus, Claudette Colvin did it first, or did it then. And again, we don't know who the exact first person was, but the record is that she did it before Rosa Parks. How many of you were told that in your Black history classes or during Black History Month in school? And first of all, why is it a month? Let's not even deal with that tonight. Black history should be constantly shared. And Black history is your history. I don't care what your ethnicity is, and especially because I know Drama is Life, we focus on decreasing the stigma of mental health among African American or communities in general, but particularly among African Americans and faith-based communities. Why? Because a lot of those communities is where a lot of our information is being lost, being hidden, being snatched, not being told. And so ignorance is not always bliss. It's not bliss when we don't know how to manage money, to leave financial wealth, or to leave a wealth, generational wealth for the next generation after us and the ones after us. As the scripture says, a good man leaves an inheritance. And we're talking about money inheritance. I'm talking about good character. I'm saying examples, great work ethic for his children's children. So the mindset of a good man is thinking 2 generations ahead of himself. Imagine how we would manage our money. Imagine how we would manage relationships, how we would do our job if we were thinking, I'm doing this for my grandchildren. Most of us, and I will speak for myself, do things for our children, just so our children can have something, because a lot of us didn't have. And our parents did so that we could have. But the truth is, if we think past just our generation behind us, just the children behind us, how much further it would be. But again, we have to not be ignorant to how to do that. We have to actually have knowledge, because the scriptures say the lack of knowledge, right? It's because the lack of knowledge, people perish. So I say that because ignorance can make you not worry about a problem, right? You may not worry about it, but a lot of people do worry about it. A lot of people worry about financial wealth and stability because they don't know. They don't have the knowledge of how. A lot of people worry about generational wealth. worry about their history, who in their family. And I say that because, again, as I've said about myself, I'm so grateful that I listened to the Spirit of the Lord and I talked to my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. And it was a month before she passed away. I didn't know she was going to pass away, but I felt this strong unction, and I just kept saying, and I know it was the Spirit of God. They kept saying, talk to your grandmother, get with your grandmother. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I set it up after Christmas to have a conversation with her. And if you listen to some previous episodes, you probably have heard this. And I've talked to her, and I just sat and asked her questions about my father, my grandfather, her mother, her father, and I literally took notes. And she laughed and she said, what are you doing, a genealogy book? And I said, I would absolutely love to do that, because what a legacy to leave. And anybody in my family knows I'm the one that's like, what's the pictures? I want to put a picture book together. I've been talking about that. And I encourage you, when we talk about Black history, even for the missing pieces that you don't know, there's so much that we do know that we can share with our children, with our siblings, with so many people that we do not share. Some of us got family rivals and we have no idea why. We don't know why we don't, so-and-so don't talk to so-and-so, why we haven't got together, why I've never met Granddaddy Boo Boo or Grandmama Lulu. I don't know. Because ignorance is not always bliss. So I'm going to encourage you especially this Black History Month, to search out historic figures that you did not know before. And not just search them out, but share them with your children. And if you got grandchildren, your children's children, your siblings. Let that be the topic of conversation around your dinner tables. And if you haven't had dinner at the table, it's a great way to leave a legacy. But we got more to talk about that in our future episodes. So I asked the question, is ignorance bliss? Is it really bliss? Is it peaceful and happy when you're living in ignorance? I'll let y'all decide. So that'll be our start for this wonderful month. Look for us. We will be on ISU's campus working with our social workers tomorrow. I'm so excited to be able to teach them about drama therapy. Also look for us, look for our posts, because every night or every day this month, we are going to be posting about some Black historic figures and information. So stay tuned. I hope that you have learned something. I hope that you don't stay in ignorance. I hope that you continue to press toward knowledge. You guys have a reflective and restful evening. God bless. Good night. Because ignorance is not always bliss.